Hey everyone, Max here, welcome back to my channel, and this is the Cort KX300 detailed review part 2. Some of you have probably already watched the first part of this video. If you haven't, there's a link for you in that corner. All facts are in that video, almost all the facts, so probably it makes sense to watch that one first. But today, I'll give you a few more little details, as well as my personal feelings, first impression, and opinion about this guitar. As you can see and probably hear, the lute mic is back. Some of you left me positive comments about it under my previous video. I'm slowly getting used to what it sounds like, and it kinda starts to look like it might be a keeper. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed to my Instagram yet, I'd really appreciate if you do. That's where you can find beautiful close-ups of guitars, quick shootouts and demos on many different things, as well as regular updates on what's going on here and what I'm currently working on. Alright, now back to the video. Here's the list of guitars I reviewed on this channel earlier and penalty points they received. The KX300 has got 4 penalty points for the truss rod access, unpolished frets, neck dive, and harp at the headstock. 4 points in total, which is actually pretty good, on the same level with other hardtail guitars. And as always, the position on this list doesn't make any specific guitar better or worse than other guitars listed here. It simply tells us that some guitars may have slightly more unexpected little things about them than the others. And by the way, this is not the same guitar that you've seen in the part 1 of this video. That one was an early production model, and this is like a regular, normal production model that you'll find in stores today. It came from Thomann, and I'm 100% sure that it is a random guitar and that it wasn't handpicked specifically for this video. And I can see the difference, the improvement to be exact. This one has a much smoother finish, it is much more consistent, both on the front and on the back, so that is no longer a concern. And another thing I've noticed was the weight. That guitar was 3.3 kilos or 7.2 pounds, and this one is 300 gram lighter. It is very lightweight, only 3 kilos or this much in pounds. So it was 7.2, now it is 6.7, I would say. That again tells us that the weight is not a constant, but a variable, and it can go up and down no matter what the brand or the model of the guitar is. Speaking of the pickups, the bridge humbucker is F-spaced with 51 or even 52 millimeters between the bowl pieces, and the neck pickup is standard sized with 49 millimeters. In the first part of this video, I've mentioned that these pickups are high output. They actually are very, very high output, which I didn't explicitly mention until now. And making them sound clean may be challenging even with the cleanest amp. It doesn't mean that there is nothing you can do about it. You can lower the pickups or raise them depending on what kind of output level you want. And in the next example, you will hear the difference between the lowest and the highest possible settings. Not so long ago, I found out that EMG Retro Actives can work without a battery. I don't think it is a good idea, but I cannot stop you from trying. And honestly, I wouldn't. In fact, let me demonstrate that. here they are with the battery first. Well, that doesn't exactly sound right, does it? At least, it doesn't work the same way it did with the Harley Benton Amarok-6 a couple of videos ago. So, why? Well, that guitar had 500k pots, and this Cort guitar comes with 25k pots, which is the way it is supposed to be. So there you go, that is the difference. So, after all, EMG Retro Actives are not supposed to work without a battery. What's the total length of this guitar? Well, let's find out. It is 97.3 centimeters or 3 feet 2 and 5/16. It's a shorty, will easily fit into any gig bag. And here's the tuning machine's gear ratio. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. It is 18 to 1. The knobs on this guitar are pretty stiff, so turning, let's say, the volume knob all the way up or down with just your little finger may be a little bit harder than you would expect. My first impression about KX300 wasn't exactly perfect, and as I mentioned earlier, it wasn't this guitar, it was the pre-production model I've looked at in the first part of this video, and its finish wasn't as smooth as I expected. It has improved since then, and this guitar has a much smoother finish, but still it is not as good as on the KX500, which is on a completely different level, but it also is a more expensive guitar. Unpolished frets were kinda disappointing, and again, this guitar does not have this problem. But other than that, the KX300 feels solid and it does feel right for the money. The neck on this guitar is thicker than on many other guitars, and the profile is not very common. It feels comfortable to me, but again, I don't really have preferences when it comes to neck thickness and stuff like that, but I believe you should be aware of the size of this thing. I know that you guys will keep asking me the exact same question over and over again until I answer it, so I'll just do it right now. And the question is, how does Cort KX300 compare to Harley Benton Amarok-6 that I reviewed earlier? Well, these two indeed are direct competitors. The price is almost the same, both are metal guitars, EMG Retro Active pickups, and actually bridge humbuckers are the same on these two because Hot 70 and Super 77 EMG sets share the same bridge humbucker, and they do sound very, very close to one another. From the sound point of view, the biggest difference will be coming from the construction. Neck through versus bolt on. The KX300 will be a little bit brighter and will have a slightly different response in terms of the attack. They also don't feel the same. Necks and neck profiles are completely different, and the Amarok is longer, it feels massive, while the KX300 feels like a more precise surgical tool. I'm not gonna tell you which guitar is better, but I'll tell you this. If you look at the specs, Amarok wins, but at the same time, the KX300 is much less of a lottery when it comes to quality control. So it's up to you. Do you want to play safe or not? Where would I place this guitar on a scale from a Strat to a Les Paul? Well, even though it is a bolt-on guitar, sound-wise, it definitely is much closer to a Les Paul. Let's do it as always. I'll play the same riff on this guitar, on my American Strat, and on Les Paul kind of guitar, and hear for yourself. As always, for all sound examples, I used my favorite impulse response, which is a 1x12 speaker cab with a vintage 30 speaker inside. If you like the sound, you can, and I believe you should, grab the whole impulse pack at my website, link below. Even though you can, theoretically, play many different styles with this guitar, it is meant for metal. It is made for metal, and with only 3 available sounds, I wouldn't be calling it a very versatile instrument. Can I imagine myself playing a gig using this guitar? Yeah, absolutely. It's just that 2020 wasn't exactly full of gigs, and I don't really have a metal band to play a metal gig with. But other than that, yeah, it will survive through the gig. I trust this guitar. What would I change in this guitar if I were you? Well, first of all, I would of course address the harp at the headstock, and Tesla dampers help against that really well. If you want to know what this is and how to fight noise, not only at the headstock but in general, check my noise mechanics video, and as always, I'll give you a link to the damper in the description below. Check it out. Other than that, this guitar could really use some fret polishing, because this doesn't sound and feel good. And maybe I would get some locking tuners for this guitar to improve the tuning stability. There isn't much I would change in this guitar for myself personally, just a couple of things. Strap buttons to make this guitar compatible with all my straps that use strap locks, and there is some space for push-pull pods that I would use, although all standard schematics will not work with active pickups, and also coil tap or coil split is not possible with EMG Retro Actives, but there are a couple of ideas that you can find at EMG's website, like PI2 phase switcher or afterburner boost. As it often is with hardtail guitars, this one is very easy to set up, and I would call it a beginner-friendly guitar. It only needs one Allen wrench to set the string height, and a Phillips screwdriver to set the scale. And that's it, as easy as that. Even with the strings set pretty low, there is still enough room for adjustments, and the adjustment screws don't stick out of the saddles and won't scratch your hand. Frets on this particular guitar are not as perfect as they were in the pre-production model, and I actually found a couple of high frets. However, I was still able to bring the action down as low as 1.2 mm on the first string and about 1.5 mm on the sixth string without any dramatic fret buzz. On the first fret on this particular guitar, strings could be a little bit lower, and that's one more thing I would personally change on this guitar. Well, I think that's it for now. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for the next video. Hey, you've reached the end of the video, and I really appreciate that. I hope you enjoyed it. I actually want to get to know you guys, so before you go, please leave me a comment below. Just, say where you're from, what's your favorite guitar or guitar pedal, and how you came across my channel. If you want to support what I do, there's Patreon, and other than that, thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video someday soon.